How is it possible that at 3 months post-transplant, you feel okay? At 6 months post-transplant, you feel pretty good. At a year post-transplant, you feel great. And then at 18 months, not so good. That's the topic on today's discussion of the Transplant Helper, so go ahead and stay tuned. Hey folks, welcome to Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Merle, and I've seen it many a time. Someone who feels absolutely awesome, say 3 to 6 months out of transplant, get them just over the hump of the year, and things tend to kind of taper off. As a matter of fact, I've seen many people, including myself, feel better prior to that 1 year mark than maybe they do in the second year. Why could that possibly be? Well, I think there are several reasons for this, and by the way, today's discussion is not scientifically based. It's not based on actual numbers, research, statistics. It's not even really based on anything other than my experience, coupled with the experiences of others that I've been blessed to speak to talk to, and to be around a lot as the transplant helper. Okay, so that's my disclaimer before we go any farther. Now, I suspect that some of the reasons, not all, but some of the reasons why you and I may feel better after, say, the first 3 months, 6 months, even up to a year, than we might during that second year, a lot of times has to do with a few things. Number one, and mainly, that when you're first 3 to 6 months post-transplant, you're in a ton of immunosuppressant drugs. Yes, that is pretty much done away with your immune system, so you're not going to be fighting off that organ. But at the same time, you're also probably on some antivirals as well as some antibiotic type antibacterial drugs. And so what's happening there is your immune system has been brought to a very low state, but at the same time, through the means of supplements and these other drugs, you actually have a barrier placed around you to keep you from getting sick. Okay, now I'm not saying that's perfect. There's no doubt. I always encourage someone, especially if they're immediately out of transplant, to use extra caution. For you, that means masking up, gloving up, certainly washing up, certainly avoiding situations where you might be around someone that's ill or sick. You certainly need to do that. However, let me warn you that you actually have more protection on board inside of the first year than you will at the second, because many of those drugs that you might be on for 6 months to a year, like those antivirals, like those antibiotics, those things have either been tapered and or completely taken away, making your body more susceptible really then to catching those common viruses and flus, colds, than you were in the first part. In addition to that, I know we're all normal, we're all human. In the first 3 to 6 months, even up to a year post-transplant, most of us are sticklers about everything, right? Whether it comes to our diets, whether it comes to our exercise programs, whether it comes to taking our medications on time, every time the right way, like I always encourage that we do, we are sticklers for those things. We're at near perfection levels at that point when we can help it. However, once you kind of get in a routine, once you kind of get back into the rhythm of life, if you're like I am, I'm admitting this is my confession, you start to slip a little bit. Things like missing a medication dose might pop up, things like being late or early with some medication, things like eating cheeseburgers when you know you should have been eating grilled chicken or some vegetable, they start to occur. Things like you feeling great, so you overdo it. You do too much exercise, or like some of us, you return back to that couch potato life because that rehab, cardiac rehab in my case, pulmonary rehab in other cases, you've gotten out of that program, and so now you start to slack off. All those changes, all those variations that may be different in the first year than the second could definitely put you at a point where you're not feeling so well. So let me picture this, or draw this picture for you in this way. Let's imagine for a moment that in the beginning of transplant, 3, 6 months up to a year, your immune system is pretty much kaput, okay? It's pretty much giving up the will, giving up the desire to fight, and it's not hurting your organ, okay? So your heart, your lung, your liver, your kidney, pancreas, intestine, whatever it is, your body's not fighting that much. And that's good because you're not experiencing as much rejection because of that fact. But as your medications are beginning to be lowered, things like Prograf / tacrolimus, things like Morphotic, mycophenolate, Surimus, other drugs I mentioned here off on the program, as those dosages start coming down and tapering off, or maybe like that steroid prednisone, maybe even coming off altogether, as those drugs begin to come down, your immune system is now given permission by your doctors inadvertently to wake back up, to start back fighting, to start back doing the things that it did normally. And as your immune system starts to rebuild, now your chances of rejection, or at least your chances of just having to deal with other symptomatic problems, begin to be on the rise. That's not a bad thing. Certainly if we get off of some of those medications or have those doses lowered, some of the side effects come down, and that can be a big help. But I've already had programs before using prednisone as an example. While I was on prednisone inside of that first year or so, I felt strong, I felt good. But as the prednisone was taken off, hence the strength, the recovery time, and it was an corticosteroid, okay, not an antibiotic steroid anyway. But as some of those barriers and some of those border walls started coming down, it became possible that I was going to lose some energy. Things like adrenal fatigue began to set in. Things like, just other problems began to set in. And as my body's constantly trying to rebuild itself, constantly trying to adjust, the likelihood of having problems was actually made more probable or likely. So I look at it like this. It's like your immune system, as it wakes up, it finally starts to fight. It starts to vigorously look out, trying to put that organ out of your body. That's what it's doing, in a sense, cartoon sense maybe, but that's what it's doing. And then at some point, maybe after that first year is over, and after that second year is finally over, your awakened immune system might say, you know what, that organ's not going anywhere. We may as well not try to take it down. Okay, so things level off. So let me assure you, if you're within the first year of transplant and you feel great, more power to you. I'm excited for you. I'm praying for you. I'm pulling for you. If you're in between that first and second year and you don't feel quite so good anymore, I'm still praying for you. Just understand that your immune system is awakened again, and things are going to get a little bit harder, maybe a few more bumps in the road. But be assured, after you pass that second, third, fourth, fifth year mark, things are going to get better. But you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to continue to eat a good diet, to get plenty of exercise, to get plenty of sleep, and to follow that same regimen, taking your medications on time every time the right way, that you did in the beginning. And I promise you, if you'll do that, you will do the best you possibly can. If this has helped to explain anything to you, how about go ahead and give a big thumbs up to the video. Tell me that you liked it. Tell me that this is the kind of content that you like to see me put out. I'm still going to tell the truth anyway, but encourage me by giving me a thumbs up. Be sure to share this out with someone, especially someone you know who may be new to the transplant world, who may need to kind of see what's coming or at least know what to expect. I hope this will help them out as well. In addition to that, go ahead and hit the big subscribe button right beneath the video. It's the perfect opportunity to do that. Hit the bell notification on beside that, and I will continue, I promise, to provide you with content which will hopefully help to advocate, educate, and motivate you as a fellow transplant patient. But until next time, stay stronger, friend.